Hey, looking for a language learning resource of how to learn a language? Now, there's one that I particularly like called Asimil, so I'm going to do a quick review of what's great about it, what do I think is missing, and who specifically is it for, and when should you use it when learning a language. Specifically, talking about the Romance languages. So the ones that I've used and have are Spanish, Italian, French, and Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. So let's get into it. Hey, Genevieve here from Breakout and Speak, helping you break out and speak. So the Asimil series is this collection of books that also come with a CD. They can come just the book, but absolutely hands down, the best part about this is the audio. When you're learning a language, it's really, really important to hear the language as much as possible. And what's great is that they have these mini stories, and you can follow along the mini story in the book as you listen to it. And actually, for you digital people, when you play the song on your phone, audio file on your phone and look at the lyrics, the words show up. So you can follow along on your phone as well, which is great if you're on the go. I actually am a little old school. I like having a physical book as well, but to each their own. And what's great about it is that they have these little mini stories. I love stories. When you're learning a language, having stories is a way to put the pieces together in a way that glues them. It's not just these random thoughts. And when you're in the beginning stages of learning a language, that's actually really hard to do because you're not working with a lot. Your vocab is like a little small. So to have a story, a mini story, that is for a beginner language learner is actually really impressive. So what they do is through the stories, it builds up from simple and beginner to things that are more complicated. And I do like how they try to integrate things that people would actually want to use and vocab that they would need to use when they're in a different country or speaking to someone who speaks one of these languages. Now, a couple of cultural notes is they do have some information, which I do appreciate as well, about the language that you're learning. So different places or things that are particular to either food or customs. And I feel like some of those things are really interesting to know. Again, it's your choice. They're in the footnotes if you want to read about them. Look them up later. So is Asimil a traditional language learning book? Not exactly, in the sense if you might be thinking of something you might have studied in school, where you have a textbook, where you have a grammar concept, and then you have examples. It's actually the opposite. What they do is they give you these mini stories, which, by the way, is a better way to do it and highly recommended. A mini story where they have the language in context, and then they have little pop-up lessons where they explain the grammar bits or maybe have a cultural note that's interesting to know about. And through the whole series and the whole book as you go along, you build up a lot of the language and the grammar that you need, not by studying it directly, but by learning it through context, big win, and through the mini stories. By the way, props to the writers of Asimil and trying to keep the stories a little lighthearted and kind of witty sometimes. And in the French one, they had me chuckling in story one. If you can make me laugh in the first lesson, that's a major bonus point. So what could be improved upon with Asimil? Now, if you are a true beginner, by true beginner, I mean just starting off from zero, don't know any of the language, Asimil will seem like it gets hard pretty quickly. You can probably handle the first lessons and be fine, but then all of a sudden it feels like there's a lot of material and a lot of it seems new. Now, can you continue? Yes, because another positive is it's dual language. On each side of the page, you have the target language, the language that you're learning, and your native language. So they have the translations there. It just feels like the pace goes faster than a true beginner would be happy with or might get frustrated. So it's just a heads up to know that that might happen. Not saying not to use it. However, my recommendation would be to use it when you are a couple months into learning a language. So when you are more an advanced beginner, you have some of the basic words and pieces built up already and some of your basic phrases so that you won't be as frustrated and you'll be able to really utilize and progress way faster. Another area that's room for improvement with Assimil are the activities that come with it. Now, they're not bad, they're okay, but they're more of the traditional sense of either translating or filling in the blanks, and I do appreciate how they try to work in old things with new things as you go along. But I feel like the activities could be much better to really challenge you to practice what you're learning instead of just translate. But there are ways to do that on your own as well, and you don't have to, or you can choose to do the activities in the book or not. It's up to you. Another note is Assimil is a European company. So they do have, for example, for Portuguese, they have Portuguese from Portugal and Brazilian Portuguese. They have two separate books, but something that I would love to see in the future is one for Spanish. The Spanish one is Spain Spanish. And it would be great if they could also come out with a Latin American Spanish, because there are some things that are the same, of course, and some words that are quite different. And just a personal note, if you're curious about my experience with Assimil, the first one that I spent a good amount of time with was Francés. And I did it through Spanish because I wanted to make sure to use Spanish in order to practice French. However, you don't need to do this if you know a second language. It's a good way if it's strong enough to do so, and definitely a good option. Caveat, with two Romance languages, there's pluses and minuses. Sometimes it can get a little tricky, but it's sometimes not that bad. Portuguese, I also learned through Spanish, and Italian, I learned through Portuguese. So they have those options if you are interested in doing that. Now, the Spanish one, I did not learn Spanish through Assimil. I got the book as a reference to know more about how they teach Spanish. So, should you use Assimil? I actually highly recommend it for most language learners. If you are a true beginner, meaning absolutely just starting out, it might not be the first thing that you grab, but pretty soon after, it definitely is highly recommended resources, especially for the audio that correlates to the written text. I love that they're little bite-sized chunks. I love that they're little stories that actually some of them are kind of funny or a little witty, or at least they're trying to make them a little more interesting and they stick in your head, which is definite props. Now, you should probably supplement that with doing your own activities and practicing speaking, breaking out and speaking, perhaps, you know, that sort of thing. But if you're interested, subscribe for more tips on how to supplement your language learning, and make sure that you cover the part about speaking, because it has a fun part too. So out for now, catch you soon.